What's poppin', people? My name is Doug Kent. Welcome to Comment Counterattack, the series where I take some of your comments that you left in the comment section and I respond to the ones that are special to me. These these comments come from the Is Anti-Tunneling 2-week video and the response to Mr. Headache video part 1. I'll link those two videos in the description. So, without further ado, let's get into these damn goof-ass comments. No, okay, let's get into the comments.
I said, let him cook!
Our first comment says, what most Dead by Daylight players consider anti-tunneling. Decisive Strike, weak. Off the record, also weak. What this video considers anti-tunneling is Decisive Strike, off the record, dead hard, made for this, boil over, flip-flop, tenacity, no mither, unbreakable, power struggle, buckle up for the people, pharmacy, vigil, bond, stakeout, second wind, inner healing, lucky break, head on, sprint burst, live, smash hit, bite the bullet, distortion, iron will, self-care, boons, sabotages, med kits, toolboxes, keys, maps, windows, pallets, hiding, running, literally breathing, just loading into the game. So I know what you're trying to imply. You're trying to like insinuate that I am making the case that everything in this game should be considered anti-tunneling. You're trying to do it in a wry, smart-ass way. But you know, I'll bite. I'll humor you with this comment. So I'm going to make a case for like over 90% of what you just said that it can be an anti-tunneling tool. Really, I can make a case for 100%, but I'll go over 90%. So first of all, Decisive Strike, off the record, we all know those anti-tunneling perks, so they are our de facto anti-tunneling tools. Dead hard, anti-tunneling tool because you can extend loops with it where you would have gone down previously. You won't have gone down now because you use it. You get an endurance boost from it. You can go to another tile. Made for this. Once you go into deep wounds by any means, styptics, dead hard, off the record, any means, you get to run 3% faster, so you can use that to extend loops. Boil over, flip flop, tenacity, no mither. If a killer is tunneling you, you get off the hook and you're in a corner, then you can run to that corner. You can sit there. You go down and the killer cannot pick you up. If he picks you up, then you boil over on your way to the hook. If he doesn't pick you up, then you no mither off the ground. So like I can make a case that those are anti-tunneling tools because he won't be able to hook you back to back. And if he is able to get to a hook, right, on that chance that he is able to get to a hook, you can have teammates that come body block for you and that'll help you out. Unbreakable, if you pair this shit with Decisive Strike and the killer doesn't want to eat your Decisive Strike, then you will be able to unbreakable off the ground and continue the looping process if the killer's not standing over you. Power struggle, if you go down at a pallet and you pair the shit with like plot twist or something like that and flip flop, then you can't be hooked. You literally can't be hooked if you flip flop at a pallet, right? Because you can just, if the killer picks you up, then you can just power struggle off the pallet and then you're continuing looping. Buckle up for the people. That's what your teammates can do for you. If you're on the ground, right, you get down by a killer, then a teammate can just come over there to you and immediately pick you up off the ground and give you a 10% haste status. Pharmacy. I mean, I know what you're trying to say, but pharmacy, on the off chance that you're getting chased long enough for you to be able to heal in between like pallet stuns and window vaults and things of that nature, it can be considered an anti-tunneling tool because you can give you an extra health state, but you have to be extremely skilled to use it. Vigil makes your exhaustion come back, so if your exhaustion comes back faster, then you can get your sprint burst back faster, your lives back faster, and whatever have you, your balance landing back faster, whatever have you, while you're being chased. Bond, it can make it to where you can find teammates who can take hits for you while you're being tunneled that you wouldn't have previously been able to find without Bond because you can see their aura. Stakeout is a gen perk. Even though I can really make a case if I wanted to that Stakeout can be used as an anti-tunneling tool, it's like a very obscure case, so I won't make the case. Second wind, I actually saw this in an fucking Asdarva video. Someone got off the hook. Asdarva hit them to win the deep wounds. Inner healing healed their deep wounds up, and then they dead harded after that. So they got like, what is that, 3 health states? Damn near 4 health states. Inner healing, if you pair this shit with quick and quiet, head on, you head on quick and quiet into a locker, right? And then while you're in the locker, you're healing up. And what protects you is if the killer finds you, is head on. You can just head on, stun the killer. If he finds you in the locker, if he doesn't find you in the locker and you quick and quiet in the locker, you're now healed to full. Lucky break, if the killer hits you directly off the hook, then you get to run around, not you leaving blood or scratch marks, which makes it extremely hard for the killer to track you. If he does try to track you, you can loop the shit out of him. If he doesn't try to track you because he can't find you, then your anti-tunneling tool did its job. Head on, you can pair it with decisive strike and things of that nature. If the killer doesn't want to eat your decisive strike or waste your decisive strike out for whatever fucking reason, you can just head on the killer when he comes to the locker. Sprint burst, live, smash hit, those are all exhaustion haste perks, so they can extend loops, they can extend chases. Bite the bullet is very obscure, but you can use this as an anti-tunneling tool. If you're being chased, then you vault a window when the killer loses sight of you, or you wait till the killer loses sight of you, line of sight. You go behind a structure. You begin healing with Bite the Bullet. You begin healing with your med kit, or you begin healing putting a styptic on, or a fucking insta heal on. If you don't want to wait that long, and the killer cannot hear you, he can't hear you until you're fully healed or you stop healing. So it would make it harder for the killer to track you, and if he takes long enough, then you're healed up to full. So now that's more health states for you, and you can extend the looping process. Distortion, if the killer's running any aura reading abilities, any aura reading perks, any aura reading add-ons, then they will not be able to track you because you're using distortion, which means you can extend the looping process. Iron Will makes it harder for the killer to track you, makes it harder for the killer to listen to you. It helps with looping because the killer is not able to pinpoint your location as well. Self-care, if you pair this shit with a med kit, you pair this shit with other like binding knowledge and things of that nature, you can heal and chase if you were skilled enough to do it, which will give you another health state, which will extend the looping process. Boons, Boon Dark Theory, Boon Circle of Healing, Boon Exponential, those are all things, buffs that can give you a boost when it comes to anti-tunneling tools, because they help you with healing. If you pair this shit with a med kit, self-care does that, or not self-care, but Circle of Healing. Dark Theory makes it to where you cannot, not Dark Theory, but Shadow Step rather. Shadow Step makes it to where the killer cannot see your scratch marks. And Dark Theory, it does give you a 2% haste status. That can matter in chases. Whether you want to believe it or not, that can matter in chases. Sabotages, this is something that your teammates can do for you. Sabotages make it to where you are able to sabotage a hook that your teammate would have otherwise gotten hooked at if you didn't have that sabotage toolbox. Med kits, if you run a styptic or a syringe on it, then you can extend the looping process, because the styptic gives you an extra health state immediately, and the syringe, if you're able to outlast the amount of time that you need for the syringe to proc, then you are healed to full. Toolboxes, of course, see sabotaging. Keys have aura reading abilities, so they can help you see the killer in chase, which can extend the looping process. Maps, I won't really make a case for maps, even though I can make an obscure case. I won't make it for maps. Windows, obviously, if you're able to loop a window, if you're able to understand how to use windows across the map, then you are able to extend the looping process, which helps with anti-tunneling. Because remember, anti-tunneling is it's supposed to take longer for a killer to be able to hook you, or you're supposed to make it harder for the killer to be able to hook you back to back. Pallets, same thing as windows. Hiding, if you wanted to hide, I suppose it can make it take longer for a killer to hook you. So I guess you can say hiding. Running, obviously. Literally breathing, I know what you're doing. Just loading to the game. So I know what you're trying to do, but I just sat there and I took fucking 7 minutes to explain all this shit. I just sat there and explained why every single thing that you mentioned can be something that you can use as an anti-tunneling tool. I just explained that. All right. However you want to fucking view it, it's up to you. But I just explained that. So there it is right there, man. I was with you until you started talking about breakout and boil over. Certainly not effective anti-tunnel perks. First of all, I never said that these perks outside of decisive strike and off the record were anti-tunnel perks. I purposefully call them anti-tunneling tools in my video because I understand they're not de facto anti-tunneling perks. Then he goes on to say that's like talking about Quick Gambit in the same breath as Gen Rushing. So Gen Rushing is an extremely fucking overused term. A lot of killers will call a survivor a gen rusher, or survivors gen rushers, just because they complete gens, right? What the fuck else are they supposed to do? That's their objective. That's their entire objective in fucking Dead by Daylight, is to complete gens. So I really think that gen rushing is overused. But for the sake of this comment, I will follow your logical train in terms of gen rushing. Quick Gambit, I can make an argument that that can be used as gen rushing, right? That can be used to gen rush, because what does Quick Gambit do? It allows your teammates to do generators 8% faster, 36 meters away from you while you are being chased by the killer, right? So it makes you do gens faster, where you previously wouldn't have been able to do gens faster. So I can make an argument that that can be used as a gen rushing perk if I really wanted to do that. See, I think a lot of Dead by Daylight players fall victim to this mentality that they have to think about things in like the categorical sense, the de facto categorical sense in terms of the category of which perks are placed in. So what I mean by this, like something like Sloppy Butcher, let's take that for example. That is a de facto anti-healing perk, but I can use that as a gen slowdown tool, and this is the reason why. If you are in a game with me and I'm using Sloppy Butcher as a killer, then if you decide to counter Sloppy Butcher by simply not healing, then whenever I do find you, all I have to do is hit you once and then you go down. So previously would have taken 2 hits for me to down you. Now it takes 1 hit, and the time that you're down and on hooks is the time that you're not spending on gens, right? And if you do decide to heal through it, first of all, Sloppy Butcher makes you heal slower, and if I come over there and interrupt you while you're healing, then you wasted all that time that you could have been doing on gens, that you could have been spending on gens, you waste that time healing, and I interrupt you, so now it's useless. Right? So even though Sloppy Butcher isn't a de facto categorical gen slowdown perk, I can use it as a tool to give myself gen slowdown, right? So I believe that Dead by Daylight players, a lot of them don't really understand the game or think about the game rather in the nuanced sense that they should be thinking about the game, in my opinion. Every point you make in this video is quite factually incorrect. Okay, bro. Your take on the Decisive Strike and comparing it to probably its second strongest version while ignoring what that version got nerfed into was a poor attempt to fit your narrative to those who are knowledgeable about this game. Wait, hold up a second. So I'm assuming the second strongest version of Decisive Strike. I'm assuming you're talking about the Decisive Strike that allows you to retain the perk even if you did gens and did totems and healed and things of that nature. I'm assuming you're talking about that, and I'm assuming the version you're talking about that got nerfed into was the 5-second Decisive Strike that we got before the 3-second Decisive Strike. Forgive me if I'm misinterpreting comment there, but I'm assuming that's what you mean. So like the whole reason I brought up the Decisive Strike that allows you to do gens and things of that nature is because there are some people in this community, who want that shit to come back, and who think that just because we don't have the Decisive Strike to that fucking level, that it means that the shit's weak. And the 3-second Decisive Strike, the reason I brought that point up is to say that even though the Decisive Strike is only 3 seconds now, that does not mean that shit is too weak. It is absolutely strong enough if you are skilled enough to use it. If you pair with Off the Record, or you pair with, even if you don't pair any of these perks, you just pair with the base kit shit that you get off the fucking hook, you can still absolutely use the Decisive Strike to effective value. But if you compare with Off the Record, maybe a Dead Hard or fucking Made for This or something like that, then you can absolutely use the Decisive Strike to a very effective value if you are being toned, right? So there's like, I'm not trying to push like this narrative that fucking like Decisive Strike is too strong or something, or that like we should not buff Decisive Strike back up to 5 seconds. That's not the narrative I'm trying to push. The whole argument in my video was to say that anti-tunneling in its totality is not too weak, whatever the fuck you want to say about it. That was like my whole entire point of the whole entire video, right? And the Decisive Strike being 3 seconds is definitely not too weak, right? It's definitely not fucking too weak. All right, so the only point you make that has even the slightest merit is that Buckle Up and For the People is pretty stupid combined. Wait, hold up a second. Hold up. Didn't you in the beginning fucking of your goddamn comment, every point you make in this video is quite factually incorrect? Isn't that what you said? And then you say, oh, well, the only one that has slight merit is Buckle Up For the People is pretty stupid combined. So which one is it? Is everything I'm saying factually incorrect? Or do I have at least one point that I make that makes a little bit of sense? Like, which one the fuck is it? All right. And that whole factually incorrect shit, like, what the fuck, bro? I'm not even going to get into, like, objectivity versus subjectivity. I'll just give, like, a brief synopsis of it. But, like, if I'm hopping onto the mic and saying shit like off the record is 90 seconds and fucking Decisive Strike gives a 10-second fucking stun, then yes, I am speaking factually incorrect things, but I'm not doing that. I'm like arguing about the strength of anti-tunneling and the strength of those perks. That is something you can do subjectively, all right? We're arguing about subjective things. So using things like factually incorrect or objective, it shouldn't be in this kind of debate. And I probably shouldn't say definitely either. I fucked up there. Anyway, yeah, man, there it is. It's insane how you consistently have some of the worst takes in the community. Retarded bitch doesn't even know how to spell worst. It's to the point I'm starting to wonder if you don't really actually think any of this and anything you say is to farm engagement. So, like, if you think that I consistently have some of the worst takes in the community, that means you've interacted with, like, at least 2 of my videos, possibly even more. So if you actually think that, then why are you leaving a comment and clicking on my video to give me a view? If you think that, then don't interact with me, because all you're doing is pushing me further into our algorithm, you dumbass. What the fuck? And you're like saying, oh my god, I think you're doing it to form engagement, so let me help you out by forming engagement for you. Retard. If you actually think that, don't watch my fucking videos. If you obviously don't like my content, I don't understand that. I don't understand people who do that. I really don't. And like, I'm not trying to form engagement. I really believe all the shit that I say, right? I'm not. It may seem like I'm trying to form engagement because like I'm very blunt and I'm very fucking honest. I just call shit like I see it. And then that may come across as fucking biased to you. It's not biased. I play 50-50. So, you know, I could farm engagement if I really wanted to. I could become like the most biased killer man that exists, or the most biased survivor man that exists on this fucking platform, and just fucking form doom and gloom motherfuckers. And goddamn, I'll probably have like 1,000 subscribers by August. I really would. If I really wanted to farm engagement, if I really wanted to make incendiary videos just to get motherfuckers to click on this shit so I can fucking get their reactions and comments, I would do that shit. All right, but I'm not interested in that. I just speak and think about things how I see it. And if you feel that I'm being fucking biased, or you feel that I'm trying to form engagement, that says more about you than it says about me. All right, but if you think this about my content, don't watch my videos then, you retarded ass bitch. I decided to do a little research on some things, but for me, your argument falls flat because of your anti-tunneling definition. The definition, anything that makes it harder to hook, is too broad of a definition, and most of the perks aren't based for tunneling. So I don't think that anything that makes it harder for a killer to hook you back to back, or makes it to where they can't hook you back to back, is too broad of a definition. Like, if the killer can't hook you outright, or like it takes longer for the killer to hook you, like I mean like a few seconds longer or seconds longer, right? I think that's an anti-tunneling tool that you can use. Also, you make the argument, you say that most of the perks aren't based for tunneling. I think you meant anti-tunneling there. That doesn't really matter. So I'm going to get into this in the rest of your comment, but like, just because something wasn't designed for something, like for example, something wasn't designed for anti-tunneling, doesn't mean that it cannot be used for anti-tunneling. I'll get more into that as I read your comment. Boil over is a pain in the butt whether you tunnel or not. It still does what it does and isn't strictly tied to help you stop from being tunneled. Okay, so if it's a pain in the butt, and what you mean by a pain in the butt, like it takes longer for a killer to hook you, or they outright can't hook you. That's what I mean by when I use boil over as an example, like for anti-tunneling, if you run in the corner of a map, for example. And I explained that earlier in this video. It doesn't really matter, because even though it's strictly not supposed to help you from being tunneled, doesn't mean that it can't be used for anti-tunneling. So like, if we're following your same logical train here, you're saying that if a tool is not designed for anti-tunneling, then it can't be used for anti-tunneling. That's what you're saying. If we're following that same logical train, then every single perk in Dead by Daylight cannot be used in another way than it was intended for. And that's fallacious. That's fallacious in my opinion. And I'll get more into that as a response to your comment. You said, which is why I specifically made the joke, pharmacy anti-tunneling, because then you can throw a bunch of perks into the pool and say that these will help, which is too broad. I don't think it's too broad. So for example, I'll give you an example. Anti-tunneling can be used as an offensive tool. Decisive Strike can be used as an offensive tool, right? So if the killer gets you off the hook, or not gets you off the hook, but you're unhooked by a survivor, and then you body block the killer with off the record, Decisive Strike, and Unbreakable, then you're no longer being tunneled, but you're using this shit offensively to stop the killer from downing the person who hooked you. So you're using this shit offensively, and the killer can't really do anything but chew through your off the record and chew through your decisive strike, or he won't hook the person that he's trying to hook, right? He's going to have to chew through all those things. But you're not being toned in that moment. You're using it as an offensive tool and altruistic tool. So following your same logical train, I can't use decisive strike like that as an offensive tool because that's not what it was designed for. But of course I can, because it doesn't matter what the perk was designed for. It matters how you use the perk. All right, so I think that's fallacious, and I don't think that that my definition is too broad. And you said you could argue Bite the Bullet is anti-tunneling tool since you could run off hook and heal silently, but it isn't designed to be anti-tunneling. Plus, you have to pray the killer is not aware of the surroundings. I went over how Bite the Bullet can be used for anti-tunneling, so I won't go back into that. But like, it doesn't matter what the perk is designed for. It matters how the perk is used. Like, for example, like Devour Hope is not designed to be Jin Slowdown, but I can absolutely use Devour Hope for Jin Slowdown because what happens every single time a Devour Hope is procced in your Survivor games? Every Survivor stops what they're doing and they go and look for Devour Hope totem. They stop their gens, they stop whatever they're doing, they go and look for that totem, because if they don't find a totem, then they're all going to die. Alright, so even though Devour Hope is not categorically speaking a Jin Slowdown perk, I can use it for Jin Slowdown, right? DS is designed specifically for anti-tunneling and doesn't do anything outside that scenario, which I believe is what anti-tunneling should be defined as. That is absolutely fallacious to think that Decisive Strike is not designed for anything outside of anti-tunneling. That's fallacious, because you can use Decisive Strike offensively by body blocking the killer with off the record, and the killer knows you have Decisive Strike, and then they have to chew through your Decisive Strike to get to the person who unhooked you. So that's like fallacious to think that Decisive Strike is only designed for anti-tunneling. That's absolutely, now it may have been intended for that, but you can use it in a different way than just anti-tunneling, right? Sabotaging, flashlights, boil over, flip-flop, tenacity can make any hook difficult, not just a tunnel. Not just a tunnel makes the definition way too broad. Okay, so it doesn't really matter if they can make any hook difficult. If they can make any hook difficult, then that means they make the hook that happens back to back after Survivor's been unhooked and they've been tunneled more difficult and make it take longer. So that still fits my definition of anti-tunneling tool by making it take longer for the killer to hook someone back to back, or making it outright impossible for a killer to hook someone back to back, or make it harder for a killer to hook someone back to back, right? The second wind, I know you're referencing when second wind paired with off the record gave you 2 endurance states, but that's been fixed, and second wind only heals deep wound without granting an extra endurance stack. So no, I'm not referencing that at all. So if you outlast the broken status effect off the hook with second wind and you aren't hit at all and the killer's tunneling you, then you heal the full. You also still have your off the record, which means you heal the full, you have your off the record, you get injured, and then you get down. That's 3 health states. And if that happens within the 60-second time frame of Decisive Strike, you DS the killer, that's 4 health states, right? So like I'm not talking about, oh, you can take 2 endurance stack hits. No, that's not what I'm talking about. And on top of that, second wind can also be used like this. And I saw this shit in the Ostdar video. I knew about this shit before the Ostdar video, but I saw it in there. How the Survivor used second wind was they got off the hook, Ostdarva hit them with off the record, whatever the fuck they had, their endurance. The second wind healed their endurance, and then they dead-hearted Ostdarva. That's what I'm talking about. Like, that down would have originally downed them. That hit would have originally downed them. But since they had second wind, then that hit didn't down them, and now it takes longer for the killer to hook said person, right? That still follows my anti-tunneling tool definition. You said, I also don't understand the whole objective versus subjective argument because the whole RNG element ruins the argument. No, it doesn't. Objective is objective, subjective is subjective. So objectively speaking, off the record is 90 seconds. That's objective. That's objective fact. Subjectively speaking, off the record is too strong. I don't actually believe that off the record is too strong, just using it as an example. That's subjective. I can say that off the record is too strong. I can make an argument for or against off the record being too strong. What I cannot do is make an argument for or against off the record being 80 seconds, because it is just objectively 80 seconds. I can't really fucking argue against that, right? And the RNG element does not rule the argument. RNG does not come into play when we're speaking about objective fact. All these potential tools are not guaranteed, and most you mentioned aren't strictly designed for anti-tunneling utility. Okay, so if that's the case, then like if they're not guaranteed and that's an argument for why you're saying it's like not strong enough, then what I can do is say that like Scorchook Pain Resonance isn't a strong enough perk because it's not guaranteed. I can get a big ass map where like all my Scorchooks are on the outside of the map and I'm never able to use my Scorchook Pain Resonance. So like I can't make that argument. You can't make an argument of RNG and Dead by Daylight because it affects everybody. It affects everybody. And I already went into things being designed for anti-tunneling utility, like actually being used in different ways. Even if you bring all of these tools, they're not guaranteed to work. I went over that in my previous point. Flashlights and sabotaging are not guarantees to stop tunneling, especially on some killers. Pyramid Head. So once again, you're using RNG. Like you can't use RNG when you're discussing strength of things in Dead by Daylight. You can't do that. In discussing balance, because RNG affects everybody. It affects every single person in the Dead by Daylight. So like that's why I don't use RNG when it comes to my arguments. We can play the what if game, but the fact that so many killers say tunneling one person out immediately is the best play, there's clearly a problem, and it's not just that anti-tunneling is weak. Okay, it doesn't really matter if killers say that tunneling one person out is the best play. It's like whether or not they can do it. If they can do it, cool, that is the best play. But if they can't do it and you tone the wrong person and they run you for 5 gens, then it isn't the best play. So like I can make an argument for either side. That's what I can do. Also, you're saying it's not guaranteed on some killers like Pyramid Head. So like I'm taking your Pyramid Head example here. That's one killer out of like 36, I believe. That's over 90% of the other cast that can be flashlighted, saboed, off the hook. Like, right, if a survivor gets off the hook, those other kills can be flashlighted and saboed because they're not affected by the curse stats effect, which is something only Pyramid Head can do. So, like, you can't use the RNG argument because I can be like, okay, well, what if you're going against a Trapper? What if you're going against a Freddy? What if you're going against a Doctor? A Leatherface? Right? You can't use that argument of RNG. You also said we can play the what if game, but the fact that so many killers say okay, I already read that. Sorry. He also mentioned gen efficiency is at an all-time high. I agree with that, which I agree with, and something we should also address. I'm not really going to go into gen efficiency in this video because this is about anti-tunneling. All right. To say anti-tunneling is fine because ABC can happen with certain perks and combos and hopefully good teammates is just another what if argument. I mean, the thing is, I'm arguing for the potential of anti-tunneling. That's what I'm arguing for. Like, people say that it's too weak, and I'm sitting here arguing, saying that it's fine because of all of these things, a vast spectrum, the rich tapestry of things that you can do in Dead by Daylight. So, I mean, even though you may think it's a what-if argument, like, it's something that you are able to do in Dead by Daylight. Then you say, should anti-tunneling be non-negotiable? I don't think so, but I do think we should have ODS, not old, but the 5-second stun with conspicuous action turned off, and we should be good. Okay, so if what you're saying is correct, we just got the side strike buffed up to 5 seconds. If what you're saying is correct, then I shouldn't hear anybody else complain about being tunnel at all. I should hear nobody else complain about this shit because the tools, in your opinion, weren't adequate enough. And now with the 5-second Decide Strike timer, they are adequate. So I shouldn't hear anything else about anyone being tunnel, according to your logical train. All right, we'll see. We're gonna see. I hope y'all enjoyed that video. This is a fucking longer video than I thought it was gonna be. Goddamn, this video is gonna be fucking long as a motherfucker. Goddamn, pause. But yeah, I enjoy doing videos like these, and just some closing statements I need to make. Not statements, but like just some closing things I need to say to you. If you want to debate me in a live format, like if you disagree with anything I said in this video and you want to not leave a comment in the comment section, but debate me in a live format, let me know. My Discord's wide open, bro. I'm Duckhead on Discord, DUKHED. Just look me up, join my Discord, add me, whatever you want to do, and we can debate in a live format. You can record it, you can make me look stupid, whatever you want to do. Anyways, I'm out this bitch. Y'all niggas have a good one. Bye. Going.